Hi, I'm Paris, and I am back home in Austin after what seems like a long time away, having proton beam therapy radiation up in Dallas. For 9 weeks, I was up there getting irradiated daily, Monday through Friday. I did come back home on the weekends, and what do I have to show for all my efforts? Well, they gave me a certificate. They do a little ceremony on your last day of treatment and give you this certificate. It's nice. They have everyone in the waiting room. They get their attention and they read this and they have you ring a gong, which is surprisingly loud. I had seen people while I was sitting in the waiting area come out and they say, "Oh, it's your last day, Mr. Johnson." It was always the men that said, "No, would you like to do this little ceremony?" "Ah, that's okay," and they just left. So a number of women did do the ceremony, but I didn't see many guys. But I decided, even though it seems a little corny, yeah, I'll go ahead and do it. So they got everyone's attention, had me stand there in front of everyone and presented me with the certificate. And to my surprise, when they were reading the bottom part of this, it's a little poem. "Let your strength and courage be felt by all as this gong's song fills the hall. For every time we hear this note, another life be filled with hope." It still kind of tears me up just about going through it and letting other people know that you made it through, that it can give some hope to them. So yeah, I kind of teared up at the time as well and took the gong ringer and gave it a good smack and then left and told everyone there, good luck in your journey. So it was actually a nice kind of thing. Nice as that was, did I come away with anything else after 9 weeks of radiation? Or as people have seemed to want to ask me, are you cured now? Well, it's not that simple to know. This Friday, I'm going back to my medical oncologist here in Austin. It'll be my first blood work done since late April. And so I really don't know what my numbers have been doing. The number in specific is the PSA number. Now, it was around 1 after I finished the chemo, and it seemed to be steady there, which is good. 1 is low. A PSA of 1 is a good number for a young, healthy man with no cancer. So that's a good number to have, I feel. And I'll find out what my PSA is doing. Now, if it stays at 1, it's good. Does that mean all done with cancer? No, you can't be sure of that because I'm also on a hormone suppressing drug, testosterone suppressing. It's called Lupron, and Lupron on its own can keep your PSA numbers way down. Now I thought I would be on Lupron for at least a year, maybe 2, but the doctor up in Dallas, the radiation oncologist, said he would recommend 3 years. 3 years of no testosterone. But anyway, that's its own issue. But how does that tie into all this? Well, that can be keeping in other words, it can inhibit the cancer. So the cancer just sort of goes into hibernation mode because it doesn't have the testosterone to work with. But when the testosterone comes back, so can the cancer. Well, actually, the cancer never really left, but it can start to grow again. So you can't know for sure until you're off of that Lupron hormone suppressing drug and give it 6 months or so. And then if your PSA numbers stay about the same, or they're actually allowed to go up a little when you go off it, but level off and stay the same, then you're probably in good shape. So we're looking years in the future to know that. So really the only news I could get on Friday would be bad news, which is if my number has gone up in spite of the radiation and in spite of the Lupron, then that would be a bad sign. So the best news I could get on Friday is nothing's changed. And it's been almost 4 weeks now since my last radiation treatment day. And the side effects, they're still experiencing them. They have all improved, and I'm hoping they will continue to improve. But if you watched my previous videos on the subject, there's the spasming bladder and urethra and what they call urinary urgency, which got really bad towards the end of the treatment, but it has definitely improved. It still lets me know when it's unhappy and, hey, you better get to the toilet now, but I can tell it, no, it's not convenient, we'll do that a little bit later. And so far, I've been winning that battle. It's actually gotten easier to win the battle because it seems to be less and less irritated and sensitive. So that's improving. Hope that will continue to improve. Conversely, or should I say on the flip side, about the radiation that gets to the rectum and triggers fecal urgency, that's also having irritation, but in the rectum, so that if anything at all seems to accumulate in there, It wants to get it out now, so that has improved a great deal also. Will things go completely back to how they were before? That I don't know, but it's improved enough now that I could live with it if it stayed like it is now, but I'm hoping for some continued improvement. And for the chemo, which I finished, it's July now, finished the chemo back in February. With 5 months to recover, you would think surely you're past all the chemo side effects. No, on average it takes 9 months to completely recover from chemo. The other main side effect is the radiation fatigue, and that took a couple weeks of being back home before that actually started to improve. The radiation that you're dosed with every day does damage the cancer cells, but it also damages healthy cells, and your body gets in there and starts repairing them. But then the next day, here comes another dose, and there's more cells damaged, and day after day, your body ends up falling behind and actually expending a lot of energy trying to repair the damage being done. I got so that I really couldn't get through a day without having to go to bed for a while and take a nap. The energy was just gone. And so every afternoon there was a nap, and that continued after I got back here for a couple weeks, even though I had so many more things I was trying to catch up on and do while I was here. But finally, after about a couple weeks, I made it through the day without a nap, though it was tough, and it's gotten easier and easier. And I still feel like nap would be nice, but now I can get through the whole day without having to do that. And every day I walk. I tried to do that through all my different treatments. Back before everything started, when I was thinking I was going to have surgery, I was working to walk further every single day to build up myself into the best shape to get through the surgery, because I knew I wasn't going to be walking anywhere for a while. And I could do, in the morning, I would do about a 5-mile trail walk, which included a couple hundred feet of elevation change. And so that was my peak, that was my high point. And my lowest point, some days on chemo, the worst days after the infusions, I could hardly get out of the house. When I would go out and walk with the kids, a half-mile would just wipe me out. Anyway, with radiation, while I was up in Dallas, I would walk every morning around the neighborhood, and I tried to get in at least 1.5 miles, but with the fatigue, that got to be a little hard towards the end there. But it's improving. I'm back up now to 3.5 miles on my morning walk, and I'm going to be back up to 5 here within another month. And then this fall, I'm planning to climb Guadalupe Peak again. You might not have seen my video about my attempt at climbing it and then my actually making it to the top, but almost not making it back down. I'll link to that at the end of this video. But that's sort of a goal I can set myself against, because a couple years before, 1 year before, the cancer diagnosis, I was able to climb it when I weighed about 60 pounds more than I do now and wasn't on the nutrition kick and taking good care of myself. So if I could do it then, I should certainly be able to do it now. But I guess I got to prove something to myself that I'm back if I can make it to the top of Guadalupe Peak, which is the highest point in Texas. It's a mountain out in far west Texas. It's about 7,800 feet high. And you start out at around 3,000 feet. So it's 3,000 to 4,000 foot elevation gain. It's considered an 8-hour round trip, strenuous hike. Took me 11.5 hours last time coming down in the dark. And again, I wasn't 100% sure at the end there I was going to make it. So where do I go from here? Well, hopefully no more intensive treatment. I do have to stay on the Lupron, which I really dislike. Having no testosterone affects you in ways, well, there are ways you would expect, but there are ways that you wouldn't expect as well, including the fact that I'm still anemic because the lack of the testosterone's involved in keeping your iron and red blood cell levels good, and without the testosterone tends to drop down. So I'm no longer moderately anemic. I got pretty low while I was doing the chemo, but once I got off the chemo, I expected to be all the way back up to normal. No, I still have mild anemia. But for the next couple years, my cancer treatment will consist of keeping my testosterone levels down near zero, and for my part, continuing to eat a very nutritious, plant-based, whole foods diet and getting in lots of exercise every day. I know that the treatments that I had got rid of most of the cancer. I could see that in the MRI that I had after the chemo, that they couldn't see any more of it outside of the prostate, and even in the prostate they couldn't really tell, is there any cancer in there? So that's all good signs. It was beat back significantly, but it only takes a little bit remaining to start growing all over again. So I am dedicated to making my body an inhospitable place for cancer to grow. Lots of those plant-based foods are high in fiber, which helps out my microbiome, and I'm making a point of eating lots of fermented foods as well to also help the microbiome. You got a happy microbiome, it produces these short-chain fatty acids, which really are good for your immune system. So in addition to making the rest of my body a place cancer doesn't want to grow, I'm pumping up as much as I can, naturally, my immune system, so it'll be on the lookout for anything that shouldn't be there. Thanks again to everyone for your support and good wishes. I really did take those to heart. And though I still have a few more cancer-related videos I'd like to do, for example, one is how much does chemo cost? I'll show you my medical bills so you can see. Thank goodness for medical insurance, and I feel so bad for people who don't have that. Also, what is a cancer survivor? I have some opinions on that now, having been through this over the past year, so I'll be doing a video about that. But by and large, I'll be moving on to other topics now in my videos, getting back to interesting product reviews, more health and nutrition reviews, and of course the backyard lizard colony that lives in my sweet potato plants, they want their summer expose. So I'll take my certificate and pack it into a bin with my binders related to cancer, the books, the notebooks, the journal, the test results, the billing, all of that stuff. I'll pack into a bin, and hopefully in time that bin in the back of the closet will have more bins stacked on top of it, and clothes and other closet stuff, and it can be almost, but not completely, forgotten. And I'll be seeing you on the next review.
There are so many choices and you don't want to stress. You want your health food at home, receiving only the best. That's what we're here for, we give honest reviews. parristx.